Have you ever stood up after lunch and felt just a little off? Maybe your knees didn't feel as stable. Maybe your energy took a dip. Or perhaps, like many people over 60, you've quietly chalked it up to just aging. But what if I told you after over 25 years studying the human body, metabolism and nutrition that this assumption might be misleading? My name is Dr. James Whitmore, and I've spent most of my career working with older adults who believed their muscle loss, joint stiffness, and chronic fatigue were inevitable. But here's what the data and the real-life transformations tell us. Much of what we associate with aging is actually accelerated by the foods we eat. One of my patients, Richard, age 68, came to me frustrated. He was active, mentally sharp, but every week, his legs felt heavier. He started avoiding stairs. After a detailed food journal and lab work, we discovered the hidden culprits weren't in his DNA or his birth certificate, they were on his plate. And with just a few smart dietary changes, he not only regained leg strength, but started walking 3 miles every morning again with zero pain. This isn't magic, it's mitochondria, inflammation, and nutrient signaling, and it all begins with what we feed ourselves. In today's video, we'll reveal 7 everyday foods, yes, even the healthy ones that could be quietly sabotaging your mobility. These are ingredients that disrupt circulation, increase inflammatory markers like CRP, and may blunt the body's ability to regenerate muscle tissue after age 60. But don't worry, this isn't a video about fear. This is about empowerment. Through knowledge, you'll also learn simple accessible, affordable alternatives that don't require expensive supplements or extreme diets. Everything we share is backed by clinical trials, nutritional biochemistry, and my own years in practice. And remember, physical strength and mobility are deeply tied to emotional vitality. When your legs are weak, your independence shrinks, and with it, confidence, connection, even joy. But when your body feels strong, your spirit lifts. So if you're someone who cares about aging well, not just longer, but better, stick around. This may be the turning point now. Let's move forward and uncover what could be silently draining your strength, and what you can do today to reclaim it. And hi, if this resonates with you, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you won't miss the next step in your health journey. Let me take you back to something Richard, one of my patients in his late 60s, once told me. Doc, I don't get it. I'm eating fine. Some toast in the morning, a granola bar after lunch, and a soda with dinner. But by afternoon, I feel like I've aged 10 years. My legs ache, my knees stiffen up, and I'm drained. Now, that sounds like a lot of us, doesn't it? Foods we consider normal or even healthy can quietly sabotage the very systems we rely on to stay active, especially our legs and muscles. And there's one ingredient at the heart of this: slow decline processed sugar. We often think of sugar as fuel, and technically it is, but the kind of sugar we're consuming in modern diets isn't the kind our muscles evolved to thrive on. It's refined, stripped of fiber, and designed for rapid absorption. That burst of energy you feel after a sweet snack, it's real, but so is the crash that follows. And it's that cycle, spike then crash, that trains your muscles to become inefficient, lazy in glucose uptake, and vulnerable to fatigue. But that's just the beginning. Over time, frequent spikes in blood sugar, especially from hidden sugars in breakfast cereals, salad dressings, low-fat snacks, and fruit drinks, lead to insulin resistance. When your cells stop responding to insulin efficiently, muscles can't absorb glucose properly, which means they lose their main energy source. That impairs performance, slows down recovery, and can even trigger muscle atrophy in older adults. Let's talk science for a moment. A study published in the Journal of Gerontology found that seniors with high fasting insulin levels had significantly lower leg strength and balance scores, even when controlling for age and weight. That's not just theory, that's real function being compromised. And it gets worse. Processed sugar fuels chronic inflammation. When inflammation becomes systemic, measured by markers like CRP, C-reactive protein, your body enters a low-grade stress state. It diverts energy away from muscle repair, reduces blood flow to the limbs, and leaches minerals like magnesium and calcium from bone and muscle tissue. This is why so many people over 60 start experiencing cramps, stiffness, and even peripheral nerve pain, not because they're old, but because they're inflamed. Think of this as a form of internal erosion, one sweetened beverage at a time. But here's the good news: you can reverse this. Reducing your intake of processed sugar isn't about deprivation, it's about restoration. You're giving your muscles a chance to wake up again, to function the way they were designed to. You're letting insulin work effectively, restoring circulation, and reducing inflammation at its root. Start simple. Replace sugary snacks with whole foods that support stable energy. A small handful of almonds, a boiled egg, or even Greek yogurt with a sprinkle of cinnamon. Swap soda for herbal tea or lemon water. And if you're craving something sweet, try dates, fresh fruit, or raw honey, but in moderation, and always read labels. Processed sugar hides under names like maltodextrin, high fructose corn syrup, or evaporated cane juice. Just because something says organic or low fat doesn't mean it's muscle friendly. When Richard cut his processed sugar intake in half, His energy stabilized, his legs stopped aching. He even told me, "I feel 10 years younger and I'm only 2 weeks in." This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. So if you've noticed your legs feeling heavier, your recovery slower, or your afternoons foggy, it might be time to look not just at your age, but at your plate. Now, let's move forward to another common threat to leg strength and joint health that's hiding in plain sight: fried foods and fast food culture. What you're about to hear may completely change how you view your next meal. After Richard cut his processed sugar intake and felt his energy bounce back, we were both thrilled but not surprised. However, what came next caught even him off guard. Despite cleaner snacks and stable blood sugar, he still struggled with occasional joint stiffness, especially after dinner. That's when I asked him, "What does your dinner usually look like?" His answer, "Sometimes just something quick. A chicken sandwich and fries." I try not to overthink it. But here's the truth. Even 1 or 2 fast food meals a week, your over 60 can silently chip away at your strength and flexibility. Fried foods and fast food culture have become nearly inescapable in modern life. They're fast, flavorful, and engineered for satisfaction. But beneath that golden crunch is a troubling biochemical storm, one that affects your joints, circulation, and muscle recovery in ways most people never imagine. Most fast foods are cooked in refined vegetable oils, often reused at high heat, which generates oxidized fats and harmful free radicals. These compounds don't just irritate your stomach. They attack your cells, promote chronic inflammation, and accelerate tissue degeneration, especially in cartilage and connective tissues. That stiff feeling in your knees or that click when you get up, it's not just age, it could be the lingering aftermath of industrial cooking oil. One study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that frequent consumption of trans fats, common in fried items, was directly linked to increased inflammatory markers like interleukin-6, IL-6, and TNF, both of which are implicated in joint degeneration. But it doesn't stop at inflammation. Excess sodium, another hallmark of fast food, causes fluid retention, which places additional pressure on already aging joints. Add poor circulation from oxidized oils, and you get a perfect storm: less oxygen and fewer nutrients reaching your knees, hips, and leg muscles. This compromises healing and worsens stiffness, cramps, and fatigue. Let me share a real story. Susan, a retired teacher in her early 70s, came to me with persistent ankle swelling and hip discomfort. She was active, drank enough water, and even took omega-3 supplements, but she had a soft spot for fried fish twice a week. Once we swapped her weekly takeout with air-fried salmon at home and added more anti-inflammatory herbs like turmeric and rosemary, her swelling noticeably dropped. In just 10 days, her words, "It's like my joints finally exhaled." The solution isn't to give up crunch or convenience, it's to be intentional. If you're craving something crispy, try oven roasting your vegetables or using an air fryer with olive oil or avocado oil, both rich in monounsaturated fats and antioxidants. Snack on roasted chickpeas, homemade sweet potato wedges, or unsalted mixed nuts for that satisfying texture without the inflammation. The mental-emotional component is just as important. Many people reach for fried foods as a form of comfort or reward, especially in moments of loneliness, fatigue, or nostalgia. But the temporary comfort they provide often leads to longer-term discomfort in your body. So, ask yourself, is that 5-minute pleasure worth a 5-day pain? Food should support your independence, not steal it. As you reduce fried and fast food intake, you may notice better circulation in your legs, improved range of motion, and even lighter mood. This is because inflammation doesn't just damage joints, it blunts neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine that regulate your emotional state. Now let's move forward, because while fried foods are a major concern, they're not the only ones hiding in plain sight. Next, we'll dive into another dietary habit that may be sabotaging your strength without you knowing: processed meats and how they silently wear down your legs from the inside out. After Susan made the shift away from fried takeout, her mobility improved, and her ankles felt lighter. But one puzzle remained: she still experienced unexplained stiffness some mornings, especially after eating certain convenient meals. At home, her go-to lunch, a ham sandwich, neatly wrapped and ready to go, and that's when it hit us. The next hidden culprit was lurking in plain sight: processed meats. If you've ever grabbed a pack of sliced turkey, salami, or sausages for a quick lunch or dinner, you're not alone. They're everywhere: convenient, tasty, and high in protein. But behind that convenience is a subtle, ongoing threat to your muscles, joints, and nervous system, especially if you're over 60. Yes, protein is vital for muscle maintenance, but the source of that protein matters just as much, if not more. Processed meats are typically preserved with sodium nitrate, chemical stabilizers, and excess salt, which, over time, can damage your body's ability to move, regenerate, and stay resilient. Let's start with sodium overload. Most processed meats contain shockingly high levels of salt, which can cause fluid retention. This leads to bloating, joint swelling, and restricted blood flow to your legs, meaning your muscles get less oxygen, fewer nutrients, and slower waste removal. You don't just feel tired, you feel tight, sluggish, and off balance. But the deeper danger lies in nitrates and nitrites, compounds added to cured meats to preserve color and shelf life. When metabolized, these substances can form nitrosamines, known to trigger oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. This isn't just theory. Studies from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health have linked high consumption of processed meats to increased inflammation, cardiovascular strain, and neurodegenerative risks. Inflammation at the cellular level doesn't just make you feel stiff, it can actively break down muscle fibers and damage nerve signaling. That's how long-term consumption of these meats might lead to weaker legs, slower reaction times, and impaired coordination, not unlike what we see in early neuromuscular decline. Let me tell you about David, a former construction worker who prided himself on staying fit into his 60s. But after retiring, his diet shifted. More hot dogs, bacon breakfasts, and deli sandwiches. Within a year, he noticed he could no longer stand up from the couch without pushing on his knees. Blood work revealed elevated CRP, and a functional movement test showed early signs of muscle atrophy and delayed reflexes. After switching to fresh proteins and adding legumes and omega-3 rich fish, he reversed much of that decline within 3 months. So what can you do? Start by replacing processed meats with fresh, unprocessed protein. Grilled chicken, baked turkey, salmon, and eggs are all excellent options that support muscle synthesis without the inflammation baggage. If you're vegetarian or just want to lower animal intake, lentils, beans, tofu, and tempeh are powerful muscle-preserving foods, rich in amino acids and anti-inflammatory compounds. And remember, if you do choose packaged meat, look for nitrogen and low-sodium labels. But even then, keep portions moderate. Think of these meats not as staples, but as occasional indulgences, just like fried food. Processed meats may offer emotional comfort or nostalgia, but what's the long-term cost? When your legs feel heavy, your joints swollen, or your energy drained, ask yourself, is this helping me age stronger or faster? Your muscle health is your freedom. It's your independence. It's the difference between walking unassisted into your 80s or struggling before your 70s. Now let's move forward, because there's another ingredient we often overlook, one that's present in far more meals than we realize: excess sodium, and how it silently drains the power from your legs, one salty bite at a time. After David replaced processed meats with clean, whole protein sources, his balance and strength started to return. But one thing continued to bother him: occasional swelling in his ankles and recurring calf cramps. He was eating healthier, yes, but there was one hidden factor he hadn't considered: excess sodium. Most people know sodium as salt, and many still think of it only as a blood pressure issue. But as a long-time health researcher, I can assure you, the effects of sodium go far beyond your arteries. In fact, too much of it can erode your leg strength, mobility, and muscular coordination quietly over time. Sodium plays a vital role in nerve function, fluid balance, and muscle contraction. But just like with any essential nutrient, too much, it becomes toxic. And today, most people, especially those over 50, are unknowingly consuming 2 to 3 times the recommended daily amount. The real danger lies not in your salt shaker, but in your pantry and freezer. Instant noodles, canned vegetables, frozen entrees, crackers, and even healthy soups and broths are often packed with hidden sodium. One can of soup may contain over 1,000 milligrams, nearly half your daily intake in just one bowl. Me share the story of Linda, a retired librarian in her mid-60s. She lived alone, enjoyed microwavable meals for their convenience, and used canned veggies daily. She came to me complaining of persistent fatigue, swelling in her lower legs, and nighttime leg cramps. A nutrition audit revealed she was unknowingly consuming over 4,000 milligrams of sodium per day. Once we made small swaps: fresh produce instead of canned, home-cooked meals with herbs instead of salt-heavy seasonings, her symptoms eased within 2 weeks. Her words: "I didn't realize salt was dragging me down." Here's why this matters. Excess sodium leads to fluid retention, which causes visible swelling but also invisible consequences. It restricts circulation to muscle tissues, reducing oxygen and nutrient delivery. The result: weakened contractions, slower recovery, and a much higher risk of cramps. Sodium can also interfere with calcium absorption, a critical mineral, not just for bones, but also for muscle coordination. Without proper calcium balance, your legs may feel shaky, unstable, or tense. Worse, this swelling and vascular tension can strain joint cartilage, leading to more stiffness and less range of motion over time. Combine this with the emotional toll: feeling bloated, heavy, or uncomfortable, and it's easy to see how excess sodium silently diminishes quality of life. But here's the empowering part: this is reversible. Start with label awareness. Look for products marked low sodium or no salt added. Rinse canned beans and vegetables under water to remove up to 30% of the sodium content. Use lemon juice, garlic, cumin, oregano, and fresh herbs to add flavor without salt. If you must use salt, pink Himalayan salt or sea salt used sparingly is a far better option than processed table salt. Also, increase your intake of foods like avocados, spinach, sweet potatoes, and almonds. Potassium helps balance sodium in the body, reduces water retention, and improves muscle function. Sodium might not seem dangerous at a glance, but over time, it's like a thief quietly robbing your legs of strength, your joints of fluidity, and your confidence in movement. And remember, when your legs are light and mobile, your mood follows. Less pain, better sleep, more freedom. That's what balanced nutrition gives you. Now let's move forward, because another common part of modern diets may be doing even more damage than sodium: refined carbohydrates. And if you're relying on white bread, pastries, or sweetened cereals to fuel your day, what you'll hear next could change the way you think about energy and aging. After Linda reduced her sodium intake and started cooking more with fresh ingredients, her leg swelling and fatigue improved, but her energy still crashed in the early afternoon, especially after lunch. When we looked at her meals more closely, we found the next silent saboteur: a daily sandwich made with soft white bread, a side of white rice, or sometimes instant noodles. On the surface it looked innocent, but, in reality, refined carbohydrates were slowly draining her vitality. As a long-time health researcher, I can tell you this: not all carbs are created equal. While carbohydrates are the body's primary source of fuel essential for brain function, muscle contraction, and even mood regulation, refined carbs are a different story. Refined carbs, like white bread, regular pasta, white rice, crackers, and sugary breakfast cereals, have been stripped of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. What's left is a fast-digesting starch that sends your blood sugar soaring and then crashing. This sugar roller coaster can wreak havoc on muscle performance. Right after you eat refined carbs, your blood sugar spikes, providing a short burst of energy. But as insulin floods the system, it pulls glucose out of the bloodstream so quickly that you're left in a state of fatigue, brain fog, and muscle weakness. Over time, these constant highs and lows lead to insulin resistance, which blocks nutrients from entering muscle cells, effectively reducing endurance, recovery, and overall strength. And the consequences don't stop there. Insulin resistance and frequent glucose spikes are linked to chronic inflammation and poor circulation. That means fewer nutrients and less oxygen reaching your legs, resulting in cramps, joint pain, and accelerated muscle atrophy, especially in older adults. It also encourages the storage of fat over the preservation of lean muscle, increasing the risk of metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes, which directly affects nerve function and leg mobility. Let me share the story of Michael, a retired engineer. He walked daily but always felt wiped out by noon, even after a light breakfast of toast and orange juice. We replaced his refined carbs with sprouted grain toast, steel-cut oats, and quinoa bowls paired with vegetables and healthy fats. Within 3 weeks his energy was consistent, his gait stronger, and his post-lunch crashes disappeared. He told me, "I didn't change how much I ate, just what I ate." So, what can you do? Start by replacing refined carbs with whole food, slow-digesting alternatives. Brown rice, quinoa, steel-cut oats, barley, and sprouted whole grain bread stabilize blood sugar and provide long-lasting energy to your muscles and brain. Combine them with protein like eggs, fish, or legumes, and fiber-rich vegetables too. Slow down digestion, promote satiety, and reduce glucose fluctuations. You don't have to give up carbs, you just have to choose them wisely. Also remember, how you feel physically shapes how you feel emotionally. When your blood sugar crashes, so does your mood. That heaviness in your legs can become a heaviness in your mind. By balancing your plate, you're not just protecting your muscles, you're defending your motivation, clarity, and confidence. So, if you've ever felt that sluggish crash or muscle fatigue after a high-carb meal, it's not in your head, it's in your biology. Now, let's move forward, because another overlooked ingredient may be quietly sabotaging your joints and muscles every single day: vegetable oils. In the next segment, we'll uncover how these oils, often labeled as heart-healthy, can actually inflame your body and weaken your legs over time. Michael's transformation was impressive. After ditching refined carbs and switching to whole grains, his post-meal crashes disappeared, and he regained steady energy. But as he moved forward, one question kept coming up: why are my joints still aching, especially after dinner? That's when we took a deeper look at his cooking habits and found the next culprit: highly processed vegetable oils. For decades, oils like soybean, corn, sunflower, and canola have been marketed as heart-healthy. They are inexpensive, widely used, and found in everything from salad dressings to packaged snacks. And yes, in small amounts and under the right conditions, some plant-based oils can provide essential fatty acids. But here's what most people don't know: the way these oils are processed and consumed today may be silently fueling inflammation and muscular decline, especially as we age. You see, most commercial vegetable oils are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids, and when our intake of omega-6 far exceeds omega-3, South as is common in modern diets, the balance tips toward chronic inflammation. This state of low-grade, persistent inflammation has been shown to impair muscle recovery, stiffen joints, and even accelerate sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle tissue. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that high omega-6 intake, coupled with low omega-3 consumption, was associated with greater levels of inflammatory markers like CRP, C-reactive protein, and IL-6, both of which have been directly linked to joint degradation and muscle soreness. But there's more. Most vegetable oils go through high-heat chemical extraction, often involving solvents like hexane. This process damages the oil's structure, creating oxidized fats and free radicals and stable molecules that attack healthy cells, degrade collagen, and weaken muscle fibers over time. These same unstable compounds, when consumed repeatedly through fried foods or packaged snacks, can contribute to connective tissue breakdown, slower healing, and even hormonal imbalance. Let me introduce you to Grace, a 70-year-old yoga enthusiast who came to me frustrated that her flexibility had declined despite regular movement. She cooked at home daily, but always with canola or soybean oil. Once we swapped those out for extra virgin olive oil and added more omega-3 foods like walnuts, chia seeds, and salmon, she was stunned. Within 3 weeks, her post-practice joint soreness eased and her balance improved. It felt like my body was no longer fighting itself, she said. So how do you make this shift without giving up flavor or convenience? Start by avoiding oils. In processed foods, read labels and steer clear of items that list vegetable oil blend or partially hydrogenated oil. For sautéing or salad dressings, choose extra virgin olive oil rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. For higher heat cooking, avocado oil is a fantastic choice due to its high smoke point and pronounced saturated fat profile. Coconut oil, while more saturated, may also offer benefits when used occasionally, particularly for those needing stable fats for cooking. And just as important, restore your fatty acid balance by eating more omega-3 salt flax seeds. Wild-caught fatty fish, and leafy greens can help your body rebuild its anti-inflammatory defenses and support muscle integrity. Remember, chronic inflammation doesn't just cause pain, it saps your energy, blunts your emotional resilience, and slows down your healing. If you're cooking with the wrong oil every day, that low-level damage adds up, and your legs, joints, and even your mindset may pay the price. So if you're feeling stiff, sore, or fatigued, especially after fried or packaged meals, don't ignore it. It could be your body's quiet way of asking for better fuel. Now let's move forward, because the next food threat is deceptively sweet. In the upcoming segment, we'll uncover how sugary sodas and artificially sweetened drinks may be weakening your muscles and interfering with your body's most essential repair systems. After Grace improved her cooking oils and rebalanced her omega intake, she felt lighter physically and mentally. Her joints ached less, her movements flowed more freely, but she still experienced unpredictable dips in energy during the day, and her legs felt unusually heavy in the evenings. During our follow-up, I asked her a simple question: are you drinking anything sweet with your meals? She hesitated, then admitted, I have a diet soda every lunch, it helps me stay alert. That single habit unraveled our next hidden culprit: sugary and artificially sweetened beverages. These drink sodas, energy drinks, flavored waters, sweetened teas are deeply embedded in modern life. They offer quick refreshment and satisfy a craving. But from a metabolic perspective, they're doing something far more dangerous, undermining your muscle power and bone integrity. SIP by SIP. Let's start with traditional sugary sodas. A single can may contain over 35 grams of added sugar. That's more than your body needs in an entire day. When consumed regularly, this triggers rapid blood sugar spikes, followed by crashes in muscles. This leads to unstable energy delivery, causing fatigue, reduced strength, and sluggish recovery after activity. Your legs may feel fine at first, but over time, they become heavier, weaker, and more prone to injury. But sugar does more than drain energy. It contributes to insulin resistance, systemic inflammation, and magnesium depletion. Trio of factors directly linked to muscle loss and joint dysfunction in older adults. Studies published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism show that excess sugar intake accelerates muscle protein breakdown in aging populations, particularly in those with low activity levels. Now, what about diet drinks? Many people assume they're better, but while they're low in calories, artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose come with their own risks. Research from Cell Metabolism and other journals suggests these compounds can disrupt gut microbiota, impair insulin response, and even increase cravings for processed food, setting off a chain reaction of poor dietary choices that ultimately weakens the musculoskeletal system. Then there's the carbonation factor. Most sodas contain phosphoric acid, a compound shown to interfere with calcium absorption. Over time, this leaches calcium from bones, especially when vitamin D or magnesium intake is inadequate. That means weaker bones, slower recovery after strain, and increased risk of fractures. When bones lose density, muscles tighten to protect the joints, creating chronic tension and increasing your risk of falls. Let me tell you about Thomas, a 69-year-old grandfather who loved his daily root beer. He exercised modestly and ate reasonably well, but he struggled with calf cramps and had broken his wrist in a fall last year. After eliminating soda and switching to unsweetened iced teas and mineral-rich coconut water, his energy became steadier, and his nighttime leg cramps faded in less than a month. "I had no idea the drink was costing me my strength," he said. "So, what are the better choices?" Water remains the best. But if you want flavor, opt for infused water with cucumber or berries, unsweetened herbal teas, or lightly brewed green tea, which offers antioxidants and a subtle energy boost. Coconut water can help replenish electrolytes, especially after physical activity. Even a small splash of fresh fruit juice diluted in sparkling water can be a safer alternative. Don't remember, hydration impacts far more than just thirst. It regulates muscle contraction, joint lubrication, and even emotional stability. When your hydration source is sugar-laden or chemically altered, your entire system pays the price. So if you've ever felt unexpectedly fatigued, achy, or prone to falling off your routine, look at your drinks. Sometimes, the strongest step towards strength is simply choosing a better bottle. Now let's move forward, because after examining these dietary threats, it's time to shift gears. In the final section, we'll summarize what we've learned and show how small, consistent changes can rebuild your strength, protect your mobility, and restore your confidence step by step. If there's one thing this journey has taught us, it's that your legs are far more than muscle and bone. They're your foundation for freedom, stability, and the life you want to live. And while aging is inevitable, muscle weakness, joint pain, and fatigue don't have to be. We've uncovered the hidden threats that silently chip away at that strength's: processed sugar, fried foods, deli meats, high-sodium snacks, refined carbs, inflammatory oils, and sugary drinks. These aren't just dietary details. They're everyday choices that, over time, shape whether you rise easily from a chair or struggle, whether you take long walks with your grandchildren or sit them out. But here's the empowering truth. You don't have to change everything at once. Even removing just one of these harmful habits can make space for real, lasting strength to return. Maybe it's swapping soda for herbal tea. Maybe it's switching to olive oil. Maybe it's one less frozen meal this week. Small steps count, because small steps are what legs are made for. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which food are you most ready to cut back on? What change feels doable for you this week? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice could inspire someone else. And if this video resonated with you, even just one part of it, feel free to click that like button. It's a small gesture that tells us we're making a difference. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and tap the notification bell so you won't miss the next piece of this life-changing journey. Together, let's reclaim the strength in our legs and in ourselves. You deserve a future of movement, confidence, and purpose, one step at a time. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, keep choosing what supports your strengths inside and out.